Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, today we're tearing into a title that's, well, pretty provocative. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Feck. So the immediate question for you listening in is, what does it really mean to not give a feck? In a way that actually helps your life. We're diving deep into Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Feck, a counterintuitive approach to living a good life, which became hugely popular. Now, if you're kind of used to the usual self-help stuff, all that endless positivity, well, buckle up. This book is refreshingly honest, brutally so sometimes. It really challenges those conventional ideas. It's less about just being indifferent and more about like a strategic kind of self-awareness, almost radical.
Exactly. And this deep dive, think of it as your shortcut to getting Manson's core ideas. We'll be looking at how real fulfillment, maybe surprisingly, isn't about dodging life's struggles. It's actually about embracing them and consciously choosing what really matters to you. It's a philosophy that honestly could shift your perspective quite a bit on living well authentically.
Absolutely. So our mission here is basically to unpack the surprising bits, the counterintuitive wisdom from the book. We want to pull out the most important nuggets, the key takeaways, so you can walk away feeling, well-informed and maybe a little liberated.
Okay, let's unpack this. Right, before we jump into specific chapters, I think it's really important we lay out the core pillars of Manson's thinking. These are the big ideas that everything else kind of hangs on. And yeah, they might just flip some of your assumptions upside down.
That's a good way to put it. One of the biggest ones, and honestly, it's really counterintuitive, is what he calls the backwards law. The fascinating thing here is this idea, the more you try to feel good all the time, the less satisfied you end up being. It's weird, right? But he suggests that accepting negative experiences paradoxically leads to positive ones, like trying not to think about something. Makes you think about it. Yeah, the pink elephant thing. It really does flip common self-help advice right on its head. We're always told, strive for happiness, chase it. But if that striving itself is the problem, how do you even start to apply that practically?
Well, it starts by just acknowledging the discomfort, maybe, instead of fighting it, which leads right into the next pillar, choosing your fricks. Manson's point is that life is about prioritizing. What do you really care about? Because you only have so much energy, right? A limited number of fricks to give, as he puts it. So you've got to spend them wisely on things that genuinely line up with your values.
Yeah, it immediately makes you think, okay, what am I giving a feck about right now? And is it worth it?
Yeah, just think about your email inbox, right? That endless stream. How does that limited number idea work there? Well, every email you obsess over, every notification, every minor drama you get sucked into, that's a feck given. And they add up. You only have so many. This connects straight to the next idea, embracing pain and struggle. Who? See, happiness for Manson isn't like life without problems. It's actually the joy of solving problems you care about. Suffering isn't just bad. It's necessary for growth, for meaning.
So what does that mean for chasing happiness then? It sounds less like a thing you arrive at, more like a process.
Exactly. It's about finding meaning in the struggle and engaging with life's messy bits. Which brings us to personal responsibility. This one's huge.
Yeah.
Look, stuff might happen to you that isn't your fault, but you are always responsible for how you react, how you choose to deal with it. It shifts the power back to you, away from blame, towards action. And then the last one was pretty sobering, but clarifying. The inevitability of death. Facing our mortality, really thinking about it, can cut through the noise. It clarifies our values like nothing else. It motivates you to live more authentically, to spend those limited fracks on what counts before time's up. Makes you ask, if time was short, what would you really care about?
Okay, so with those core pillars laid out, let's see how Manson actually breaks these down chapter by chapter. I'm keen to see how these big ideas become like actual advice for living day to day. Right, here's where it gets really interesting. Let's kick off with chapter 1. Don't try. Right off the bat, Manson tackles this whole positive thinking thing, the self-improvement craze, his main point. Constantly chasing happiness, always trying to be positive. It ironically makes you more anxious, more unhappy. He calls it the feedback loop from hell. Brilliant term.
Yeah, the core takeaway from Don't Try is basically stop chasing it. Real well-being isn't feeling amazing 24/7. It's being okay with yourself, flaws included. It's being comfortable with struggle, and then consciously choosing what battles are worth fighting. It's not apathy. It's being selective, radically selective.
It's definitely provocative. But I wonder, for someone really into positive thinking, could this bluntness be, misinterpreted or just seem negative?
Oh, for sure. Some people might read it as him saying just give up or be cynical about everything, but that's not really it. He's pushing for something deeper, more authentic. It's about focusing your limited energy where it counts, which means letting go of the stuff that just doesn't.
Okay, that first chapter definitely makes you rethink positive. But if happiness isn't about trying, what is it then? Manson gets into that in chapter 2. Happiness is a problem. Here, he argues happiness isn't some state you just achieve and then, coast. No, it's a byproduct of solving problems. Life, he says, is just problems, one after another. So real happiness comes from finding problems you actually enjoy solving, avoiding them, expecting a problem-free life. That just leads to misery.
Right. The big lesson is don't chase happiness itself. Focus on finding meaningful problems, things you care about solving. Then develop the values, the skills to tackle them. Our struggles define our successes, really. He uses that funny disappointment panda story, too, to remember, to show how absurd chasing constant positivity is. If you connect it back, this chapter really flips the script on happiness. It's not passive, it's active engagement.
Then chapter 3. You are not special. Oof. In our social media age, a constant comparison. Manson just skewers this idea that everyone's exceptional or deserves to be. His point is that this feeling of entitlement, whether you feel superior or like a victim, it actually stops you from growing, from connecting. Most of us, we're average. And accepting that, he says, can be incredibly freeing.
Yeah, the actionable bit is embrace being average.
Yeah.
Seriously. Focus on improving yourself, sure, but for you. Not to prove how special you are. Real self-esteem, it comes from earning it, facing flaws, taking responsibility. It's like a call for humility that actually builds strength.
It feels like such a necessary reality check. A call to humility, yeah, and self-acceptance. Makes you look inward. Chapter 4, The Value of Suffering, goes deeper into this idea that suffering isn't just unavoidable, it's actually essential for growth. He introduces the self-awareness onion concept, peeling back layers, right? First, notice your feelings. Then, understand why you feel them, what's the root. And then finally, what core values are driving those feelings. Getting to the real why.
And then he talks about good versus bad values. That's key. Values like chasing pleasure all the time or material success or always needing to be right. He says those are superficial. They lead to unhealthy kinds of suffering. So the takeaway isn't avoid suffering. It's understand it. Figure out your values. Make sure they're healthy. Things you can actually control. Good for you and others. Your pain can actually point you toward what truly matters.
Okay, chapter 5. You are always choosing. This shifts to personal responsibility again. Manson's core idea. You don't control what happens to you, maybe, but you always control how you interpret it, how you respond. He makes that critical split between fault, who caused it, and responsibility, who's going to fix it.
Right. And the bottom line is pretty stark, but powerful. Stop playing the victim. Own your life. Own your problems. Doesn't matter whose fault it was. This gives you agency. It lets you act, create change. You move from being passive to active.
Yeah, that's a really potent chapter. It's all about agency, a firm push away from blame towards solving things. Tough, maybe, but empowering. Chapter 6, you're wrong about everything, but so am I. This one's fascinating. Manson argues that certainty is the enemy of growth. Being sure you're right all the time, that stops you learning. Our brains, he says, are wired to confirm what we already believe. He calls it Manson's law of avoidance. Like if your identity is built on being smart, you'll avoid situations that might make you feel dumb, even if you could learn something. It's ego protection getting in the way of growth.
Exactly. The big lesson, being open to being wrong.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crucial for learning, for evolving. You got to embrace uncertainty, admit fallibility, question your own assumptions, be willing to say, I was wrong. What's really cool here is how it champions like intellectual humility, pushing back against rigid thinking. It allows for constant improvement, a deeper understanding.
Moving on to chapter 7, Failure is the Way Forward. This one tackles our big societal fear of failing. Manson says failure isn't the opposite of success. It's actually a necessary part of the process. He introduces the do something principle here.
Yeah, the idea is that action, just doing something, even if it's imperfect, that's what creates motivation, not the other way around. Don't wait for motivation to strike, just start. Don't be paralyzed by fear of failure, learn from mistakes. Use them as stepping stones, the pain of failing. It's part of achieving anything worthwhile, he argues. You got to get in the game.
Then chapter 8, The Importance of Saying No. This is all about boundaries and commitment. Manson's take is that real freedom isn't having infinite options. It's actually the freedom to commit fully to something important. And that means saying no to everything else that doesn't fit. If you can't reject things, he says, your values are kind of meaningless. Your commitments are shallow.
Simple takeaway. Learn to say no. to things that don't align with your chosen values, your priorities. Committing deeply to a few key things that leads to more depth, more trust, a clearer sense of who you are. It's about defining yourself by what you won't do as much as by what you will.
Such a vital lesson. For self-respect, for healthy relationships too, knowing your no is liberating. And finally, chapter 9, and then you die. Whoa, right into the big one, mortality. His core idea is that facing death, really confronting it, can be an incredibly powerful motivator. It strips away the superficial stuff, clarifies what really truly matters. He suggests the fear of death is often really a fear of not having truly lived.
Yeah, the profound insight is don't fear death. Use it. Use it as a lens, a reminder to live authentically, to pursue what gives your life meaning now. Your legacy. Maybe it's not about being remembered forever. It's about the impact you have while you're here. Connecting this back, this final chapter, brings this sobering but really potent perspective. Makes all the earlier lessons hit harder, gives them urgency.
Okay, so wrapping it all up, Mark Manson's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Feck. It's definitely a departure from typical self-help. It uses that blunt, no-nonsense style, personal stories, really shakes up common ideas about happiness. On the plus side, you get incredible authenticity. Real honesty. He doesn't sugarcoat things, and that resonates if you're tired of fluffy advice. There's also that counterintuitive wisdom we talked about, stuff that makes you really think differently. And it is actionable, relatable for a lot of people. Downside, yeah, the language, the swearing, it can be a turnoff for some, no doubt. And maybe some points feel a bit repetitive, though that does kind of hammer home the core message and the tone. Some might find it a bit cynical, maybe dismissive, that they prefer a gentler touch. But bottom line, I think it's a really valuable read, especially if you feel overwhelmed by all the pressure, To be happy, successful, special all the time, it teaches you to choose your cares wisely, to accept struggle, to take responsibility. And that ultimately can lead to a more grounded, more fulfilling life. It's not about caring about nothing. It's about caring intensely, but only about what truly matters.
Exactly that. The core insight, the counterintuitive bit, is that real fulfillment comes from embracing the tough stuff, from choosing your values carefully, not from chasing constant highs or a problem-free life. It's about being intentional with your energy, deeply selective.
So as you reflect on this deep dive, maybe ask yourself this. What meaningful problem are you willing to embrace solving today? Knowing that happiness isn't about avoiding problems, but maybe it's found in the joy of solving the right ones. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.